Hey everyone, how's it going? Main Command here, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can overcome and defeat an elite AI on Terran or Protoss. So I thought about making this into two smaller videos, but then I just decided to screw it, say screw it, and then make it into one bigger video, so just bear with me. I'm going to be playing two maps from start to finish, and going to be showing all the tips and tricks and strategies that you can use to defeat an elite AI if you're struggling with that. This will drastically improve your chances and odds of defeating an elite AI. So I've struggled personally with fighting an elite AI, and at best I'm a mediocre StarCraft player. But after I picked up, learned a few things here and there and picked up on some stuff, then I've become like a much better player since. And this was just, some of this is straightforward stuff, others is a little bit more advanced and complex, and then just you'll find some things in between where you pick up on it and you learn as you go, and it's just kind of repetitive, but it's just picking up on little neat things here and there. So the two maps I'm going to show is Redshift and Catcher. So first one I'm going to be playing as Protoss, and I'm just going to jump into that and tell you guys what I did. Alright, so in this one it's basically just a standard beginning. Obviously I can't see what my AI is up to, but just for this one I'm gonna just kind of put it so I can see what both of us are doing at the same time. So whenever I was going up against an elite AI, I would always kind of just stand back and be at my base and play it safe, and then I'd always inevitably I'd be able to hold off maybe at best 3 or 4 waves from an elite AI, and then I would be overtaken, and my base would just fall against the elite AI, because the computer is just like, once you get to the highest level, it's a little bit more difficult, and the computer's simultaneously doing everything at once, whereas you have to divert and concentrate all your attention on doing multiple tasks, and I'm horrible at multitasking. I'm just doing one thing at a time. So right off the bat, I've got a pylon going, nothing too special or out of the ordinary, just a standard setup pylon and a forge, and right off the bat I'm sending my probe over to the other base. And this is just a great way, it might sound contrary, contradict, like why would you do that, if you set up a defense there it'll be just overrun, but that's just it. If you can just set it up, you'll have the element of surprise, and it's like no risk, no reward, right? I could just kind of stay back on my base, play it safe, and then over time be overrun by an AI once it has time to build up its army, and it could just, take over my forces, knock out my, defenses, and then it's game over. Or I can just kind of come over here right off the bat, be a bit of a nuisance, start setting up a pylon right there within like the 1 minute and 30 second mark, and then right off the bat, see, like I've already stopped the elite AI from mining, and that's huge. Like they've already sent half their probes to deal with this. And so even though they're throwing one pylon, I thought I'd throw another one out there. And unfortunately in this case, I sent one probe, I lost it, so I've decided to give it another try, and basically, as you can see here, send a backup probe, because you never know. And then since that wasn't quite working this one, because they've kind of they spotted me, and they stopped me from basically setting up a photon defense, I thought I'd send another one, build it a little bit farther out, and see, in this case the elite AI sent a little probe to scout out ahead, but then they send it back to their base. So I just kind of took that opportunity and advantage to set up some more defenses, and this was super risky. Like if this wasn't going to work, it was just going to be game over. Like I wouldn't have any units, wouldn't have anything up, no photon cannons, nothing, and it would just GG right there. But in this one, like I said, just throw down a couple pylons, and they have a unit up, which is really bad. If I lose my my probe there, I'd have to send another one, and at that point I would just have to stay at my base and start building up an army and be at a huge disadvantage. But here, send down a couple pylons, just enough to hold out, even though they've got a zealot and a stalker already on the field. I'm just setting up 2 pylons, 3 photon cannons, nothing special, 4 on the way. This one, I've already lost the pylon, but I'm just kind of continuing to push it through it, not getting discouraged, just keeping at it. And if I get this set up, it'll be huge. Then I can set up my army here. It'll be basically a choke point where I'll be forcing the elite AI to mine off of 2-3 bases, and if I can contain it, sooner or later it's game over, because they'll run out of minerals, I'll build up my army, and I'll destroy them. But meanwhile, while all this is going down, you have to have that kind of mindset. You got to be kind of multitasking, going back to your base and seeing what else is going on. This is like, in a sense, like pro level shit, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying really hard to hang on here. I want to get also back at my base. I want to get cybernetics core up, because that's huge, having a shield battery to kind of like recharge your photon cannons, shields. You might not think it's that big of a deal or that much, but it's that little extra that keeps your photon cannon from going down. And it's almost like a magic wand where you wave it and then your photon basically shield just goes all the way slowly over max. It's like a Zerg building healing itself, but on steroids. So then it's kind of like doubles the strength in a sense of your photon cannons, and it just works. You know what I mean? So right off the bat, I survived that. Now I've got already like 7 photon cannons on the field. I'm in a pretty good spot, and right off the bat, I'm not wasting any time building a base over here, getting my second nexus up and going, because I have to keep mining, multitasking, doing all that good stuff. I've got a gateway, but I'd really like to see a cybernetics core. But this is just going at it. Takes a little bit of time and you stepping out of your comfort zone, because for the longest time I was just kind of sitting at my base, just like entrenched, like camped there, be like waiting for them to come to me and kind of like building up my forces. And I'm just like, you're gonna get overrun, right? Because then I'm basically just farming off of 2-3 bases. If I try to create a 4th base, or even in a case of 3rd base, if I wait long enough, then they'll just destroy the base, because there's almost no protection. I'm just getting it up and running. It'll be overrun, destroyed, then I'm on 2 bases, and it's almost like reverse psychology on me, where I lose my 2 bases, game over. This way, I've got them trapped, pretty good position. Still taking the time to get this going here. This was only like a 20-minute match, as you can, see right there. But at the 5-minute mark, I'm sort of like semi where I want to be. It's good enough. See, they got a huge army here. That's why I really like to see shield batteries up. Maybe even like 3 zealots just to counter their main forces and let their photon cannons do their job. But this is just enough to hold out against them. And like this might not be like exactly what to do, how to win, but it's just a good advice and like strategy on giving you a much better idea how to win, and showing a match of just winning against an AI, an elite AI for that matter. For those of you who are just curious, like how can I brush up on my StarCraft 2 skills in your veteran, or just improve your overall gameplay by trying new things and stuff like that. I'm no means by a pro, but over time I've just, just little things that you learn, pick up tricks like, see, like right there, elite AI is obviously relentless. That's just crazy. You just keep going, and unfortunately they caught me when I'm trying to get 5 photon cannons up, but you gotta get those photon cannons up, and a shield battery, of course. It makes such a huge difference. Like if you look at that right now, like look at the shield on that, it's barely draining at all. Right now I would have lost 2 photon cannons by the time the shield would have been like half drained right now, and then just like, it's like a slinky in a sense. You just kind of bounce back with that. So 2 shield batteries right here, along with basically almost half a dozen photon cannons, and it makes just a huge difference. I'm pretty secure at this point. I've beaten back elite AI's army. They're getting pretty desperate. They got like an Archon in the field. I'm not too concerned about it, as long as I can pick it off early. But if you get 3 or 4 Archons at this point, I'd be in trouble. But I'm in pretty strong position. Quickly working on my 2nd base here, thinking about starting a 3rd. Got my cybernetics core, which is a pretty big deal, because you want to get your shields out there as soon as possible, and just kind of keep your mind going. Just staying active in StarCraft. Now, kind of like, I always also fall into this tendency, I don't know if you guys do, but it's just kind of like, I'll set up a defense and I'll be curious to see how it holds up, and I'll just kind of get stuck on that instead of constantly building and moving on and not really paying attention to that, but kind of building something else and then coming back and then assessing what the situation is. I'll just kind of be like, I wonder how this is going to do, and then I just kind of get, lose my train of thought, and then just kind of focus on one thing altogether. So yeah, doing really good. Right now they're basically just entrenched at this one little base. They got some warp gates up, I'm not sure, like their upgrades and whatnot. And yeah, so it just works against the elite AI every single time, because after a while you discover that the elite AI just has this sort of pattern that they stick to, and then you just tend to figure it out, and it's like, well, you try a few things, which took me a while to try, because I'm just like, no, it would never work if I can't defend at my base. Then if I go out, they'll just overrun my defenses and I'll be knocked out. Whereas, I wouldn't even send out a scout, and then I start sending out a scout, and then start getting a little bit better. I don't think practice makes you perfect, but it can, and it helps to make you a better player. And then I'd start setting up a defense and be like, oh, well, that works. Now I can send my units over, and I can get a warp gate, which I'm kind of cautious towards. So I'm just like, you know what, screw it, just gonna just litter the place in a bunch of pylons, so keeps my unit supply in check and my population in check, and then photon cannons backed up by shield batteries, and it works really well, especially for the first 10-minute mark. Afterwards, AI obviously will have the time to build resources like ships and whatnot, and they'll just start coming out with more powerful units, and you get overrun, so it really helps to build additional units. There is a certain thing that I kind of lacked in this game, and that was building a base on the other side. I kind of neglected to realize that my adversary, the AI, was just building a secondary base there, wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention to it. And I kind of got like some probes here, but I wasn't really doing anything. But like, oh, I'll just focus on the front for now. But right off the bat, at that mark, when I had like even 400 minerals, I should have been throwing up pylons right off the, right here, and then just kind of starving them. Even going so far as to take out their second base when they didn't have much of an army, because they only have 3 zealots, and then just knock out this, so they'd literally be only mining on one base, starve them on that one base, and then finish the match. So because I didn't do that, I still secured my position a little bit later on, but it just kind of dragged on the match unnecessarily, you know what I mean? I like to strike fast and go for that kill, but instead I kind of play a little bit safe because I'm a little bit overly too much of a cautious player, and I get my second my fourth nexus down here, and then another one down here. So I'm just going full throttle. Vespian is what I like to go for. Get some air units up. I kind of figured that the I can't remember the name off the bat of my head, but just there's a basic air unit which I'm gonna say I can't remember what it is, but anyways, it's like has like energy emitters, and it does a ton of damage. Oh, void rays, if you get a ton of them, if you get like half a dozen void rays and then you just hit the E button, it'll give you an additional 6 damage, so that energy beam will just be lethal. I mean, it will be deadly. So right off, like, look at off the map. I'm also just in case, see, I got a little thing going here. It's a little bit of a nuisance because they got an army that's hitting my my photon cannons, but I'm building it just out of the range that they can't strike it down. And like I said, on the map, something also really important you want to do, which I'm in the process of trying to be a better StarCraft player. Don't want to go pro or anything, but I just really want to be good, to the point where I can take on most players, not just AIs. But AIs are just fantastic and great for practicing, and I've got like a personal vendetta against AIs, just a little bit of a long story, but anyways. Well, I might as well say, there's this one time I wanted to kind of leave, and I thought a match would only last 20 minutes. I beat the AI that was on Elite, and I ended up playing for like an hour, and I got so pissed that I left my computer running, just stopped it because it was 1 versus the AI, and then I left, and then I came back, and then I destroyed the AI in like 2 minutes just to finish mopping it up, because the AI would go all over the map building bases when you give them that chance and opportunity. That's why I have a little bit of a grudge and vendetta against the AIs. So all over the map, I'm setting up bases, starving them, so there's no way they can get through my pylon blockade. I'm not taking any chances, and also, if you can, build bases behind you so the AI can't take over certain mineral patches and then start mining off of that. And already like at the 12-minute mark, I'm not really building an army. I'm just focusing on my blockades, my pylons, and shield batteries, and just working on establishing bases across half the map. I don't even have probes, because that's just a waste. Like, I'll just have probes mining at the main base, and then eventually I'll send a few to every single base, but even that takes time. So right now I'm just building nexuses everywhere to stop my adversary from doing it. See, like right now, it's a really good thing I responded eventually, because if they mined out this mineral patch, it would have just gave them an incentive, another gateway. They would have just basically I don't know, like made their way in a sense like across here, and then they wouldn't even have to hit my base right here. They'd basically just go here for all I know, even though chances are they'd go for my main blockade and then fail, and I'd lose this base, which is no big deal. But if they actually went all the way here and then hit my main base, then it would be like, I'd be so discouraged, and it would be just drag on for a really long time, or I'd even lose, and it'd be GG right there. So yeah, So yeah, they had a lot of units, so I sent over what little army I had here just to kind of cut them off, stop them from you know, pushing through the blockade and then mining any more minerals. So now at this point, even though I lost half my units and I don't know, I'd say maybe like 4 or 5 photon cannons, now I have a firm, you know, defense set up here, 2 blockades, so they're sandwiched in between. They're trying to send in a bit some units here, but that's no big deal because I can just keep building a few units myself and then send them over here and then kind of finish the match with void rays. So at this point, you guys, you know, it's looking pretty good, pretty solid. I'm not even sending my probes here to mine because I'm doing really well, you know, but you got to do everything within that 1 minute mark, you know, set up your defenses and make sure that you're not spotted, and if you are, that you have like a backup plan and you're building just a little bit farther back your, you know, your defensive pylons or you know, you're getting your little blockade going of photon cannons or whatever. Kind of the same concept with Terran as it is with Protoss when you're fighting an elite AI, but it's a little bit different at the same time. It's not quite the same, but it varies, but the strategy is more or less pretty much identical. You know, it's just different races have their strengths and weaknesses. I don't really play on Zerg. I don't like playing on Zerg. I'm not good at playing on Zerg, and I didn't even beat the basic starter like tutorial with Zerg because I just hate playing Zerg and I'm horrible with Zerg, but I am pretty good. I'm okay with Protoss and I'm decent with Terran, so I'm even better playing with Terran, even though it's a bit more more challenging and harder to play with Terran. So right now they got an army going here, which is kind of scaring me a bit, but I've got just enough to hold them back. Got a small force here, a huge blockade here that's just enough to push them back, and they got a little elite AI. I'm not concerned because it's just one stalker, and this is where I'll send my detachment to kind of stop them, keeping an eye on my bases here, and at the same time my other bases, just kind of slowly multitasking, doing my little thing and making sure that I'm well supplied on Vespian and minerals, and that my other bases are just slightly active, and then kind of going back and forth really quickly, but mostly just focusing on my blockades, building a couple units and then quickly sending them over down here, you know, making sure that this just mainly stays up, supporting my blockade, which is huge. And yeah, so knocked out their secondary base. They're literally starving to death, mining off of that one base, and now they're completely mined out, and this is the last of their army. And right here you can kind of call it GG, but I never like when an AI surrenders. I always finish the job. I always have a tendency and habit of doing that, and even if there's no way, you know, or I can win a match, 8 out of 10 times I'll still fight to the very end against an AI. I don't know, it's just a bitter rivalry thing. I don't really go up against, I'll go up against the occasional player, but it's just not as fun, you know what I mean? Even though there's a lot bigger skill set involved with some players that are really good, you know. And look at this, it's just sad. Like all their probes are just huddled together, scared for their lives, just, you know, standing around doing nothing, and their army doesn't even know what to do, even though they've got 4 Archons. And at this point, if I just lure out their army, they'll just be done for. I mean, like, right there, you guys don't know what to do. I'm at this point, I'm just pretty much, you know, messing around, building up my forces. I've got 3 already Void Rays, right, as I'm maintaining these bases right here, you know, doing pretty good on solid on every base. You know, moved to my main, kept an eye on my main base. It was mined out, so I moved all my units down here somewhere, I believe, just close to the bottom, or no, never mind, to the next base. And then yeah, built 3 different fleets. Don't even really need a fleet beacon for Void Rays, and Void Rays are good enough as it is, but just to kind of speed things up, to quickly finish this match and put an end to this elite AI, which it took me a while to do, just to kind of try a few things and kind of move out of my base and comfort zone. I never really understood scouting. I always thought that was a waste of a scout, because against an AI it always repetitively does it, but I just didn't realize how valuable it was until lately. I'm just one of those noobs that kept doing the same thing, and then I got some Void Rays, some backup Void Rays right here, you know, which I don't even really need. And then I hit Eon Void Rays because that's a huge, you know, 6+ damage. It adds up, does, you know, a ton of damage. And then just kind of picking off first their Archons, and I kind of click all my Void Rays, you know, the number 1 control thing, so you can have, you know, get all your units simultaneously controlled, and then focus on the units that are most deadly, right? Send in the rest of the void race to clean up the job, and then like, so I focus all my energy right there, hit E for the energy beam, focus first on their archons, one after the other, and if you focus all your firepower on the archons, you knock out one archon, you knock out the other, third one, fourth one, and then just take care of their zealots, and then game over right there. So this is just slim pick, you know, this is easy pickings at this point. And they have a bunch of zealots, so they can't attack my air units, so they're pretty useless, and that's it. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up for this match. Right there, man. The spoils of war. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoy this match, because I'm going to show you guys another one that I did with Terran against the Elite AI. And I know this video is going to be a little bit long, but I really appreciate you guys watching this video and sticking through. Even if AI is no big deal for you, it's just kind of, you know, why not watch another player or YouTuber make a video about it? Just you know, if you got for fun, or if you got nothing to do, just like whatever, you know, killing time. Or appreciate you guys watching this video and checking it out. And look at this, look, I just slaughtered their zealots like they were nothing. And then what's more satisfying, strangely, is wiping out their probes and just seeing them scatter, you vermin. It's always nice when you get a victory against an elite AI. It's so hard when you just try, you know, really difficult, and you end up losing a match bit by bit by bit. Those matches are just cruel and just so hard to take at times, because I'm not the kind of player that's like, oh, there's no chance, I don't have a chance at winning, I'm gonna give up. No, I just keep going and going at it. And look, the last of their probes just gone. Look at this sick ass blockade. I have half the bases on the map, and that's only to stop them from getting out and spreading their forces across the map, and like kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna go here, you know, slipping probes here and there, so I don't have to really be concerned about that. I've got more than enough minerals. Just kind of like seal off this area and then finish the job, and GG. The AI is nothing. And so yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go to the next match and show you guys how I beat the Elite AI with Terran. It's very similar to Protoss, except a few things vary. So this one was on Dreamcatcher. Let's just get right into it. So here we go, the match is about to commence and get underway. Going up against a random, so that should be interesting. Find out who my competition is. So like I said, basically the setup is very similar to, what's the Elite AI up to? So yeah, this basically starts very similar to Protoss, except I find that when I'm with Terran, there's quite a bit more strategy involved. It's not all, you know, cheesing it like I did with Protoss, and I love to cheese it with Protoss. It usually works for me against the AI, you know, if I do it right and things go accordingly the way they should. With Terran, it's a little bit more difficult, and I wouldn't say exactly you can cheese it with Terran, because it's not like you can set up a bunch of pylons, photon cannons, eventually shield batteries, and get a small force in there to hold off the Elite AI while you surround it with blockades and knock it out, depending on the circumstances. With Terran, you got to get your Marines, your Medvacs, your siege tanks, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So right off the bat, just a standard build. Got my SUVs mining. Already I've got like a supply depot up, because that's essential. And then I'm already starting. The first thing I like to do is obviously get my barracks, because that's really important. And then right up about this point, the 1 minute markish, I'll send over single SUV just to kind of set up my defense in advance. Keep in mind, if this doesn't work out, this is kind of like you got to put all your chips into this one. If it works out, fantastic. If it doesn't, it's game over, right? So no risk, no reward. And yeah, so yeah, pretty much standard build up. I always, for some reason, for the longest time, I like to have 3 workers per Vespian, per the Vespian facility and building. But now I just have 2 instead of 3, because in the future I don't know, I'm just kind of lazy. And the reason, you know, and then I just have 2 out of 3, because later on when you go out of, like, when you mine out your Vespian, then you'll have just 4 SUVs instead of 6 just laying around doing nothing, and it's just kind of hard to lose track of that. So I usually have 2 out of 3 because it lasts longer, and then when I check back in, then I'll move my SUVs out. So that's why I have 2 out of 3. And then that also reminds me, since I only have 2 out of 3, I'll say, why do I only have 2 workers out of, you know, instead of 3 working at this facility? It's because it's a constant reminder it just helps me. I kind of get into my own rhythm. Everybody has their own style and rhythm to kind of move forward to try to get that next base going. And yeah, right there, I made a huge mistake. I didn't realize that a probe could squeeze in on the side there. So I set up a supply depot here instead of moving my barracks a little bit farther up. I thought that there wasn't a big enough gap for a probe to get through, but my mistake. And now the elite AI has scattered out my base, so that makes this game that much more difficult. Right, all I can do right now is just kind of try to get a marine up as soon as possible. And the reason why you saw me relocating and moving my barracks was so I could set up my attachment, so I could, I always like to go for as soon as possible that stimulant that gives your marines 10 extra life, that injection or whatever. That's kind of huge later on, because even though most players just like to go battle cruisers or siege tanks, and that's the those are the star units of the show, I still like to stick with marines because they're pretty badass. If you can get it down to science, and like basically just taking the medvacs, which heal your marines, and on its own it's good enough to harass them, because you quickly, and I just love throwing my marines in the medvac, going across the map and then dropping them off when I'm up against very hard AI, and just like harassing them like in 2-3 locations around the map. And it doesn't do much, but it's a really good distraction. It gives me time to build up my forces, set up other defense and blockades that I'm thinking about, and then just serves its purpose really well as like a buffer, as like a counter unit, more of like a thorn in your hide, so to speak, right? So that's what it's really useful for. Sending my marines after a probe, sending already 3 marines down with the defense I'm trying to get up here. I'm a little slow on the whole Terran thing because of that probe, getting through and scouting on my base, and a little cautious. So it's just little things, some mistakes that you make, that you just don't stick with it, let it go, stay in the moment, and then just kind of learn off of that, and then make the most out of it. So I got 3 marines, sending in an SUV. I'm kind of late at this point because I'm at the 4-minute mark, so I'm kind of taking a huge gamble here again, because if Protoss strike me now, I'd be screwed, But so far they've got probes scouting the other side of the map, so I should be okay. Not too concerned about it. I'm just concentrating on setting up a defense, and don't have a lot of minerals now as well, not as much as I would like to see, but kind of I'm setting up a defense a little bit farther back. As you can see, obviously elites doesn't see me, they're in a blind spot, so that's why I'm setting my defenses a little bit back, because this is the ideal and perfect position to do it. Oh, they might have just seen me a little bit with one of their zealots, but I'm not too concerned. I finally, the main thing is just getting down that siege tank. That's huge. That's how you can repel their forces. If you don't have that, you're pretty much screwed. So yeah. And then just doing little things that'll save you a bunch of time. Like if you want to, instead of constantly, like I found that from my friend Night Shadow, he's a little bit of a better player, StarCraft player than I am. He's like, yo, man, I've noticed in your videos that you click a lot. And I'm like, I do click a lot, and I should be more accustomed to pressing like certain letters, like E or whatever. Yeah, I'm just going to go back to so we can screen our views. And then this is my view, so I don't really know what their strength of their army is, because I don't have a one of those towers out, a census tower out. So yeah, basically, he's like, you should just click on your keyboard and keypad, and I've already bunkered my marines, got 2 siege tanks out, so that's pretty good. But he's like, bunker, so hit like the keypad on your keyboard to build multiple buildings if you're going to build them at once. Instead of just clicking 4 times, you can just hit your keypad and build them simultaneously 4 times. It just saves you a split second. Those split seconds turn, like I said, already set to seconds, and that saves you a bit of time, improves your overall gameplay, and makes you a much more deadly and lethal player on the field. So right off the bat, I'm picking off their probes, so they're not making additional bases. I'm already starving them. This is a little bit different because they're already, I'm trying to starve them again, but they're on 2 bases instead of 1, so it's a little bit interesting. Sieging my 3rd tank already, because they're really making a huge push here, all-out commitment. If I break, I'm screwed, but this should be able to hold. See, just even if it's just barely, this is a lot closer to the last one, a lot more strategy involved with Terran. But yeah, pushing back, run away, you cowards, and then just setting up shop again, repairing what's damaged here. I really should have a second SUV. Oh, actually, I do have a second SUV. Awesome. Repairing that, throwing down another one. And siege tanks with bunkers and marines inside it with just your basic upgrades is really deadly and awesome until much later in the game. It's really formidable defense. The only thing that's missing now, since I have my census tower up, awesome, is my turret. That's the only thing I'm missing. I like to get some turrets just in case Protoss decide to get sneaky, and those sneaky bastards decide to, create mass-produced air units. I like to have turrets up, along with bunkers to counter them, and siege tanks, on the ground. What I love doing with siege tanks is I like shooting and sniping individual zealots or units or stalkers that I can just get into range with my siege tanks, you know, or even sending out one unit, drawing them in, and then if it's not a full committed push because they're not strong enough to push in, just kind of bait them, get them out there, destroy half their units, and then reinforce your blockades so they re-get that army, destroy that army, and then move all in for that kill. But for me, I'm more of a cautious kind of defensive player. I'll take my time. I'm not into a rush with anything. I don't like how they're building a base up here, but I didn't even know that the elite AI is building one up here. I'll scout it later in the game, but right now I'm just focusing on getting a couple more barracks out because I have enough siege tanks, and I don't have the minerals to really build more siege tanks, so I'm going marine counter them with marines. And right here, another push, deadly push by Protoss. I'm doing multiple things on the map, but you just gotta, you know, kind of stick with it. Don't give up. Took out their Archon. All my bunkers are gone. My marines are almost gone. All I've left is my siege tanks, and it's just enough to hold the line. And I'm almost getting discouraged there, but I'm not allowing myself to kind of get discouraged, and I'm just kind of like pushing forward. I'm not messing around, and I'm just kind of going all out. I almost got my both my bunkers, barracks is underway, so that's really good. And then another push here. See, I'm kind of trying to bait them out, draw them out to take out that Archon. That Archon is a lethal threat that I need to destroy and get out of the way. And now they're making another push, which is kind of hopeless at this point because they barely have any units. This is more so that they can sneak in probes past, so I'm taking a couple of marines and seeing what's going down, what my buddy's up here. I really only scout as far as this, which I shouldn't have, but I'm just like too focused on my barricade. This blockade has to hold. And at this point, when I'm getting yet another siege tank up, I've got them huddled together. I've got half a dozen siege tanks out there. I'm not too worried about the blockade, but I want to get my marines up, maybe some bunkers. The turrets are looking good and you know, kind of like really good and sexy for now. And yeah, so yeah, like I said, they've already got 2 Archons down, so like the elite AI is not messing around. It really wants to break through, but it can't. And it's doing pretty good, but you're just mining off of basically 2 bases. They're getting some other bases out here because this is like a sneakier AI, and they managed to get some probes through, which is really bad, but I'm not too concerned with that. The main thing is just holding out this, and at the same time I have to multitask and get my other bases up and running. I kind of decided to make a move, kind of like a ballsy move, and make a base right here just to kind of serve as like a buffer point. And constantly you got to make sure you're getting your units in. Like right now, this is just freaky, right? This is really scary. I'm losing 2. I already lost 2 of my siege tanks, and I'm taking 2 more siege tanks. They're taking quite a bit of damage. I just have 5 siege tanks to hold the line. Right there, it's amazing how quickly the elite AI can build up their stuff. But I'm just making, and at that time, I wasn't really paying attention to my defenses because I'm just hitting my 2 barracks here, making sure that I'm always mass producing units right here. And at this point, I like to get some battle cruisers on the field just as a deterrent. And yeah, that's pretty freaky, pretty scary, because they've almost like all I really have on the field is 5 siege tanks barely surviving. 2 took quite a bit of damage, and 3 kind of remain untouched. But like right off the bat, building, maintaining, trying to get better at I don't really get better at multitasking, but so I try to pick up a few things. And then yeah, what saves me a little bit of times, I should have been hitting the keyboard instead of clicking everywhere on the map, which I tend to do. It's just little habits like that I have to learn myself, and then save myself a little bit of time so I can build units quicker, get on the field, and be, you know, more lethal and deadly. But this video is as much for me as it is for you guys if you're struggling, or if you just want to brush up and then see how other players, you know, go up against an elite AI. So that's why I really want to make this video. There we go, bunked my unit, marines right there, beautiful. I'm keeping my eye on it. That's pretty awesome. Keeping my eye on the prize and on what's going on here constantly for my forward defense. And yeah, just kind of keep sieging. I'm trying to make my upgrades are at level 2, so I'm keeping an eye on a numerous amount of things, which is kind of really difficult for me. And making sure this base has a couple turrets just in case they move in any air units. I'm a little bit paranoid at this point, but that's fine. They've got a base here and here, like I said, but all they're doing is just mining off of these bases, so that's how they're able to constantly produce this army. If I can slowly inch towards, which I'm constantly trying to do, and what helped me win this match, was I'm trying to quickly produce those units, repel their invaders, and slowly start adding more and more units to my defenses. And then if I can do that and slowly make my defenses stronger and stronger and stronger, and then I gain a little bit more ground at the same time, and then I get to the point where I can combat these bases and just kind of keep my eye on the blockade. But this is the main prize for now, this right here. No messing around. This main prize. And I got my base right here as a deterrent and an excellent point. It's a planetary, of course, that's essential in my eyes. And I could have a couple fallback bases, but that would be more of a nuisance for me. I'd rather just do that a little bit later on because it's still not sure. Getting my bunkers up, because my Marines always tend to go forward. Like, I'll have a cluster of Marines moving forward, getting annihilated, and then there's nothing to like slow down the Protoss invasion from hitting my bunkers, and then my siege tanks behind supporting my bunkers, so they can take down bunkers pretty quickly, and then my siege tanks, and then I have no defense. So I'm just kind of keeping everything in the air, and at the same time got a couple of liberators here just in case, just for good measure, just to kind of like seeing if they have any air units. I'll be able to fight back their air units. So two turrets, 2 liberators for any air defense that they might try to mass produce, but so far they're just investing in ground units, and I have sufficient amount of forces to hold off their ground units. I've got, I don't know how many siege tanks I've got right now. Enough, I'd say. And 4 full bunkers of Marines. That's just, you know, that's just a little bit overkill, but it's necessary. Just rebuilding my defenses whenever they, you know, get destroyed, and just constantly on that. Just sending a couple of my liberators scout out. You always want to know what your enemy's up to if they made any additional bases, and yeah, so that's pretty good. But like I said, you don't want your Marines to clump up, go over there, you know, get one hit killed by those Archons, and then, you know, they'll hit your bunkers and siege tanks and break through your defenses. You always want to have them as a first line of defense. The Marine is essential. And having it like a medvacs, which I like to see a little bit closer to my Marines, but I'm keeping a little farther back because I don't want to lose my medvacs. They're really messed up at this point. Like, this one's got barely any health. This one's just got 2 bars on it. And then, like, I don't like seeing this. Like, just kind of go for like half that. Go forward, go back. You know what I mean? Don't play like, you know, in the middle, back and forth. And so yeah, I'm making a couple starport here, basically production facility here for my siege tanks, and got my barracks. So I got a steady supply of Marines I can move out, but I'm always having second thoughts because, like I said, I like to keep more than even like half a dozen Marines on that front line. But yeah. And another really bad tendency I do that you guys shouldn't is always keep your medvacs a little bit behind your Marines, like for the most part, especially when you're attacking a base. Because I kind of messed up there with my liberators because they're not meant to attack ground units. And I lost my medvacs, which is really bad. I wasn't paying more attention to my liberators. And then, you know, medvacs, Marines with medvacs are good. Without them, they're like, you know, they fall quickly. Like, even probes can kill my Marines off. So that was just kind of like a waste there. But it's just like, you know, little mistakes that I make here and there that I brush up on, and then I just kind of like make a bad situation, try to turn it into a good one, and then yeah. So set up a main defense. So I can afford to lose my Marines and make those kind of errors and blunders. So holding up against this is a little bit harder because now they got Colossi, and I don't know what their upgrades are at. They've got level 2 upgrades almost. They're fully almost upgraded to level 2, which is not too bad. Here I've been keeping an eye on my upgrades, which has been really hard to do, so it's about the same. Yeah, so we're about even in strength and upgrades. And let's see, what is my where's my, there we go. Okay, all my upgrades are level 2. It takes a while to get level 3 upgrades, so yeah, I'm where I want to be at the 15-minute mark, more or less. Trying to draw on their Colossi. I want to separate them and eliminate them as hard, you know, if I can, which is easier said than done. See? Because that's a pretty lethal force, right? If it was a fully committed attack, it might 50-50 could break through my defenses, but the AI at this point is just kind of like halving it, so they're not fully committed, and they're kind of just skirmishing here and there. But that's why I love my siege tanks. Excellent position. Lose my bunkers, which is inevitable, but I mean, so if you set up the right defense, bunkers and siege tanks with the Marines in front and medvacs just behind with a couple of turrets can play such a crucial and important role in your defense. I know I'm just, you know, yammering on, but I feel like I just got to get it out there. And already I got a siege tank here, so I got a little bit of a surprise on the side for him, which is awesome. Just in case they're trying to sneak in through the side. And yeah, just kind of messing around, poking around here, kind of trying to pick them off. Pick them, you know, piss them off, and then try to keep getting them out in the open. See, like constantly having to regroup, just mining off of those 2 bases, and these ones for the time being. But they're going to starve on these bases, and then that's when I'm going to try to make my move at this point. Just making sure I reposition my units, and everything's going fine. You know, I like to take in the moment, you know. That's pretty good. So yeah, I've got one worker on each Vespian facility, so just in case the Vespian doesn't go out, and steady supply, huge supply of minerals. And I like to have another base up, but I'm good for the moment. I'm just taking it a moment. Otherwise, I would have probably set up another base. A lot of repetition, whatnot, and yeah, just kind of going back and forth and still clicking too much in this. I found out. So you guys know the little mistakes that I make, the bigger ones, and the huge one that I do right. Doing a bunch of small things right makes up for making a big mistake. So I got to tell you a battle cruiser, but I don't want to do anything with it. I could send it over here, but like I said, don't know the strength of the enemy. You know what I mean? What they're up to. So I just want to send in like half a dozen cruisers and just destroy them. And at this point, I'm making a base, which is kind of late at the 18-minute mark, but whatever, you know. I'm just taking my time with this, enjoying it, having a blast. Got 3 siege tanks on the side, you know. Got, I don't know how many, what's that, like a dozen on my main force. And finally, so I've got basically just 2 starports, which is really all I need. Even though I could speed that up, I don't want to. I want to see a little bit of my siege tanks get some glory. And then my Marines are just kind of trying to get in there, get a little bit more glory, you know, have a little bit of, you know, have a little piece of that pie and get some glory for themselves. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just barricading, you know, cutting off your enemy from their supply, or just biding your time, building up your defenses, and then when the moment's right, getting your cruisers, half a dozen battle cruisers, to strike at these bases, which you'll scout out on the map, and multitasking and many things. And that's pretty much how you defeat an elite AI. So yeah, I don't know. I hope this video has been kind of like really, you know, informative and has helped you guys improve your gameplay, or at the very least, you know, just was a video kind of like, even though it's a little bit long, just a video that you overall, you know, enjoyed and had some spare time to do it. Yeah. Look at this. They're just not fully committed at this point. I think I've got them scared. They're literally scared. Anyways, if you guys want to see me make like future videos like this, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit that little bell icon so you can get a notification whenever I make new content, new awesome content. And like I said, you know, just be sure to give me a thumbs up if you know, you like this video, and that helps. You know, just anything. Comment, thumbs up. It always helps out the channel. Always encourages to make, you know, me to make more and better stuff, and try to, you know, try some new things out, and try to improve my streams and channels altogether, you know. So I usually make videos on this channel, Revelation Gamers, and then I live stream on my main channel, which I'm trying to get up and running, Main Command. So I'll be live streaming on my channel, Main Command, and making videos on this channel, obviously, Revelation Gamers. Sorry that I'm repeating myself there, but yeah. So nice, just picking off the probes. Run, Archon, run for your life. Like, listen, like, why would you send your Archons back if you're elite AI? But just kind of how, oh, okay, I thought that was like a push or something like that. They were going to send like 2 sentries or whatever, you know, like quite a few stalkers and zealots, but like keep their Archons back. I'm like, not the best move, but whatever. Now I'm pretty confident with anything they can throw at me. I'll hold the line here. Got a nice little base, nifty base going here on the side. Got 2 census towers up, so my coverage is pretty good. That's a huge coverage of these areas. And yeah, just kind of slowly pushing them back. Look, they're just literally camping here. We're like out of minerals. Just basically living off of 2 bases. Oh, don't want to miss this action if they go in for an attack. Almost out of minerals on this base. They're getting really desperate, and this base is kind of like semi getting there. So yeah, I'll scout that base in just a bit. Got my battle cruiser army going up. Oh, it's time to punish that AI. I've been toying around with this AI for long enough, but like I said, like to take my sweet time. And although this battle has drawn longer than it normally would, I don't mind. This AI is just having its ass handed to it at this point. Look at this. I mean, it's just like, what are they even doing? They're keeping half their units here, half their units here. I don't really mind, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what's going on here. I've got somewhat of an idea. And it helps so much having a census tower out in the field. I mean, you don't really need it, but it is really useful to have it. If you can just take the time to spare yourself and have a census tower, it will give you a good idea of troop movement and all that good stuff. And keeping an eye on your upgrades and whatnot on everything. Finally, I got that base up and running right here. It's about time at the 20-second mark, but I'm not even in a rush. I've got my cruisers, battle cruisers, finally moving in for the kill. Gonna knock out their base here. Bam! I don't want you here, Protoss. Go. This base is now. I claim this in the name of the Terran Dominion. This is ours. This is main command's territory. Flee, probes. Flee for your lives. Oh, I've got one last photon cannon. Simultaneously committing these Yamato cannon or Yamato gun or whatever you want to call it. Nice. They're making a little base here or a little pylon here, which is kind of sad. I'm going to knock out in a bit. Took out one of their bases, didn't have a whole lot of minerals in it. And I think I'm going to be building bases here pretty soon. And then finally pushing here and just completely destroy them. It's good they got another base going here out of desperation, but I'm in a pretty good position here. The only way they're going to make bases is here, 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 but it's not really going to matter at this point. Already setting up a base here is overkill. Got a base here, got my battle cruisers here. Focusing a lot less on this defense since I got everything sieged up. And yeah, always making sure my siege tanks or my tanks are sieged. That's crucial. And this is I think this is literally, this might be their last army they have before I push in for the final kill. Doesn't matter too much at this point because I'm warping in my cruisers here. Just decimated. It's a massacre. It's a slaughter. These probes are right for the harvesting and slaughter. For the glory of Terran. For humanity. Yeah, sorry, I got a little carried away there, guys. But you know what I mean. Freaking just so caught up in the moment of glory and victory is at hand, people. And yeah, they like to see the thing with once you get to very hard AI or elite AI, they love seeing little gaps and finding little spaces they can send their probes through for building up their bases, and if anything, just financing their army. And then you can't really. It becomes somewhat of a nuisance if you don't keep an eye on it, and you have to kind of scout them out. And then by that time, they send their army to engage your forces, so you just kind of want to be dug in, or you know what I mean, or just be ready to counter their forces in a sense. But yeah, it took me a little while to get up to this point because I wasn't just willing to go forward, and it's all about breaking that that little defensive gameplay and getting a little bit out of my shell. And I just got 2 liberators, not even going to bother repairing them. They're just kind of sitting back, hanging out, doing absolutely diddly squat, but it's all good. I'm just leave their pylon here, whatever. It's like knocked out their base here, and yet they're going to build another base here, which is kind of annoying, but it's what it is. Oh, and a beautiful trap their probes. They're getting hit with my siege tanks, and Marines are coming in to clean them up and get their fair share of kills. That was beautiful. That was like oh my gosh, tear in my eye. It's just the condensation. That was a beautiful symphony of destroying, massacring my adversaries' probes. That's what you get for messing with the Terran Dominion. Know your place, elite AI. You are no match. But yeah, damn, that felt good. And yeah, they've got like 1 base here. All their probes knocked out. I'm just gonna go back, clean up the job. Don't even need to reinforce my defenses here. And they literally have no army left. Like, this is just and they're like, what should we do? And look, like, they're not even camping here waiting for a final attack. And it's risky. Like, there was quite a few times when I'd unsiege all my tanks, move just a little bit forward to siege them up in the right position, and I can't tell you the number of times I got caught in the open. And right then and there, I'll be attacked by the enemy, have all my siege tanks wiped out, and then I wouldn't be able to build up enough of an army in time to reinforce my units or to prevent the army from advancing, and it'd be GG right there. But now, look at this. Got all my bases built up. I didn't even notice I built these 2 bases. I'm like, what in the heck? Now I'm building bases everywhere. I'm not even taking a chance. I'm just sending 1 USUV to the spot that I was building bases prior to, and then setting it up so there's no way, my the AI can build any bases except build bases everywhere on the map where there's mineral patches and turn them into planetary fortresses, I do believe. Or yeah, which I'm going to. And every other base that which they've mined out, which was like 4 bases, or 3 or 4 bases, has, or I'd say 4 bases, 4-ish, 4 or 5 bases-ish is completely mined out, and I'm going in for the kill, and the casualties have been catastrophic for the Protoss, and really low, and, you know, and good for the Terran, Terran forces. That's how you do it, guys. That's how you beat an elite AI. Unfortunately, I can't do it on Zerg because I'm a terrible Zerg player in StarCraft 2, and I just hate playing Zerg. You know what I mean? I, for the most part, love to stick with my own race, or occasionally play with the Protoss, even though I'm not as good of a Protoss player. But I'm okay. I'm with Protoss and decent with Terran. I just mostly like to stick to Terran, you know, and occasionally, like I said, Protoss because they're cool. You know what I mean? They're a mysterious, cool race, but I think Zerg is just like the just scum. If you think highly of Zerg, by all means, awesome. I respect your opinion, but my opinion is I just don't like Zerg in general. They're an infection that needs to be wiped out. But yeah, for those of you who love Zerg, you know, that's awesome. Props to you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. About to get a victory in about a minute here. Taking my time. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two in this video and you really enjoyed it, and you know, you're gonna give me a like and maybe a quick comment, you know, just like make better content, be like okay, or an LOL or anything, guys. Even if you just check out the video for just a few minutes, really appreciate it. But yeah, for those of you that watched it all the way through, you are awesome. Stay awesome, keep it real, and yeah, I think that's about wraps it up for the final kill here. So I'll see you, hopefully I'll see a lot of you guys return for my live streams and other videos. So I look forward to making it. I make these videos for you guys, you know, make what you guys enjoy or what you guys want to see, or just videos that might help you guys out. Because I, you know, myself watch quite a bit of YouTube and other videos and learn a thing or two, I like to think, every now and then from YouTube, and spend too much time actually watching YouTube, but should watch it less. But yeah, so that's pretty awesome. Just look at this, like freaking a dozen battle cruisers just owning everything. Elite AI has not rebuilt their base and is being revealed. The final kill. Going in for the final kill. That's so awesome, the amount of gunner cannon. And that's it. GG. Thanks again for guys for watching. And keep it real. I'll see you guys next time.